Captain Rex sat alone in the dimly lit corner of the Star Drift Tavern, his three good eyes fixed on his drink while his cybernetic fourth one scanned the room. The old veteran's scarred purple skin and worn military jacket made other aliens keep their distance. That suited him fine, he hadn't been much for company since the Earth War. The news playing on the holoscreen caught his attention. The Galactic Council was celebrating their latest conquest. A previously unknown species called humans had been discovered on a backwater planet. The Council planned to add Earth to their growing empire. Rex's mechanical eye whirred as he zoomed in on the footage. His hearts nearly stopped when he saw the humans. They looked so harmless, soft skin, no claws, no natural armor. Just like the Meridians had looked before they. He shuddered and downed his drink. Rising quickly, he slammed some credits on the counter. Need to warn the Council, he muttered. They don't know what they're dealing with. The next day, Rex stood before the Council chamber, trying to keep his voice steady as he addressed the gathered representatives. Distinguished members, I must urge you to reconsider your approach to Earth. I've seen their kind before. Captain Rex, interrupted High Counselor Brill, her crystalline form glittering with barely concealed annoyance. Your service record is impressive, but you're letting old trauma cloud your judgment. These humans are primitive. Their most advanced weapons are chemical projectiles and crude atomic devices. That's what we thought about the Meridians, Rex insisted. We didn't understand then what we were facing. Humans are like them, they're adaptable, creative, and most dangerous of all. He paused, his cybernetic eye flickering with remembered horrors. They never give up. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Captain, Brill said firmly, the Council has made its decision. Our fleet will arrive at Earth in 3 standard cycles. They will be given the standard ultimatum, join the Empire or face conquest. This meeting is adjourned. Rex watched helplessly as the Council members filed out. In his quarters that night, he recorded a personal log, they won't listen. Just like last time. Humans don't think like us, they don't surrender when outgunned. They adapt. They find weaknesses. And they fight harder the more desperate things get. The Council thinks their advanced shields will protect them, but humans. He shook his head. Humans will find a way through. They always do. He looked out his window at the glittering capital city below. 3 cycles, he whispered. That's all it will take for everything to change. And this time, I won't be able to say I didn't try to warn them. As Rex finished his log entry, news was already spreading across Earth about the strange signals detected approaching their solar system. Humanity's first contact with alien life was about to begin, but not in the way anyone expected. The Council thought they were launching a simple conquest. Instead, they were about to learn why Rex's warnings should have been heeded. They were about to learn why you should never corner a species that had survived and thrived through countless disasters, wars, and near extinctions. A species that had turned their own harsh world into a cradle of civilization through sheer determination and ingenuity. They were about to learn about humanity. And by then, it would be too late. The Council's first contact transmission reached Earth on a quiet Tuesday morning. Within hours, every screen on the planet displayed the same message: surrender or face conquest. The Council expected panic, chaos, and swift submission. Instead, they got something entirely different. Rex watched the humans' response from his quarters, his mechanical eye recording everything. The Earth's united governments had broadcast their answer across all frequencies: we choose to fight. Just like the Meridians, Rex muttered, pouring himself a drink with trembling hands. He knew what came next. The Council would launch their standard conquest protocol, a show of overwhelming force designed to crush resistance before it began. The massive Council fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Krell stood proudly on his command ship's bridge, watching as 500 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy moved into formation. Primitive species always fold when they see our true power, he declared confidently. But something was wrong. His sensors were detecting unusual activity throughout the solar system. The humans had somehow managed to move countless small objects into space during the 3-cycle warning period. The Council's initial scans had dismissed them as debris or primitive satellites. That assumption proved costly. "Sir," a junior officer called out in alarm. "Those objects, they're moving. They're all moving." Rex had seen the reports coming in. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a defensive web. Thousands of small, automated drones and mines filled the space between planets. They weren't particularly advanced, but there were so many of them, all networked together, all adapting their tactics based on shared data. The Council fleet's superior shields meant nothing against the sheer volume of attacks coming from every direction. The humans had learned from their own history of warfare, quantity had a quality all its own. Admiral Krell watched in horror as his perfectly ordered formation began to break apart. Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. How are they doing this? The answer came in the form of a transmission from Earth. A human military commander appeared on screen, his expression grim but determined. "You thought we'd be fighting the war you planned for. Instead, you're fighting the war we've been preparing for since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Welcome to humanity's worst-case scenario response." Rex recorded everything in his personal log, Day 1 of the invasion. The Council's fleet is in disarray. Their perfectly choreographed conquest plan has been shattered by human ingenuity. They've turned their entire solar system into a defensive weapon. But this is just the beginning. He paused the recording, remembering the Meridian War. The Council doesn't understand. Humans don't fight like we do. They don't follow the rules of engagement we expect. They take what works and discard what doesn't, instantly. They learn, adapt, and overcome. And now. He glanced at the latest battle reports. Now they have living examples of our technology to study. The Council has given them exactly what they needed, practical knowledge of advanced alien tech. In the Council chamber, emergency sessions were being held. The perfectly planned 3-cycle conquest was already falling apart on Day 1. High Counselor Brill's crystalline form had lost some of its luster as she reviewed the casualties. "How?" she demanded. "How could they have prepared so thoroughly?" Rex stood in the back of the chamber, his mechanical eye recording everything. He knew what the Council didn't, this was just the beginning. The humans weren't fighting to win a war. They were fighting to survive. And there was nothing more dangerous in the galaxy than a human fighting for survival. The real war hadn't even started yet. 2 weeks after the failed invasion, Rex received an urgent message from an old war buddy stationed near Earth. The video showed grainy footage of something that made his heart skip. Humans had already reverse-engineered parts of a downed Council ship. "Impossible," he whispered, his cybernetic eye zooming in on the details. Even the Meridians took months to. He trailed off, watching as human engineers swarmed over the alien technology like insects, taking it apart, testing, rebuilding, improving. In the Council chamber, High Counselor Brill was facing growing opposition. "This is unprecedented," declared Representative Mole, his gelatinous form rippling with agitation. "First they destroy half our invasion fleet, and now reports suggest they're already adapting our technology. We must sue for peace." "Peace?" Brill's crystalline form pulsed with angry light. "With primitives? Never. We're deploying the Dominance Fleet." Rex felt his blood run cold. The Dominance Fleet was the Council's ultimate weapon, planet-killer ships designed to make examples of particularly troublesome species. They had only been used twice in Council history. Both times had resulted in extinct civilizations. But humans had been watching. Their quantum monitoring network, hastily constructed from salvaged Council tech, had picked up the fleet's activation. They knew what was coming. And they were ready. The Dominance fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system, led by Grand Admiral Voss himself. "These humans will learn the price of defiance," he declared to his crew. "Prepare the planet-killer weapons." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The humans hadn't just been defending, they'd been gathering data, analyzing patterns, and preparing. As the Dominance fleet moved into position, they struck first. Not with weapons, but with code. Rex watched the reports come in with a mixture of horror and admiration. "They found the backdoor," he recorded in his log. "The one weakness in Council tech that we've always known about but never fixed because no species had ever been advanced enough to exploit it." The humans had discovered that all Council ships used the same basic operating system, developed millennia ago. In their frenzied study of captured technology, they'd found a vulnerability. Now, they deployed their weapon, a virus that turned the Dominance fleet's own systems against itself. Grand Admiral Voss could only watch in helpless rage as his mighty ships began powering down, their automated systems hijacked by human code. The planet-killer weapons, requiring precise calibration, were now worse than useless, they were dangerous to the ships carrying them. "This is why I warned them," Rex told his log. "Humans don't think like us. We see technology as something to be mastered over centuries. They see it as a puzzle to be solved immediately, because their survival depends on it. And they're willing to try solutions that we'd never even consider." The Council was in chaos. The Dominance fleet, their ultimate weapon, had been neutralized in hours. Worse, the humans were now broadcasting a message to every species in Council space. "We didn't start this war, but we will finish it. To any species who wishes to break free from Council control, we offer our alliance, our technology, and our protection." They're not just fighting back, Rex realized, watching as reports of uprisings began flooding in from across Council space. They're reshaping the entire galaxy's power structure. And they're doing it not just with weapons, but with ideas. Freedom. Independence. Revolution. In his quarters that night, Rex added a final note to his log: "The Council thought they were starting a simple conquest. Instead, they've triggered something unprecedented, a revolution led by a species that refuses to accept defeat, inspires others to rise up, and turns their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. The galaxy will never be the same." The war was entering a new phase, and nobody could predict what would happen next. But one thing was certain: humanity had changed the rules of the game forever. 1 month into the war, Rex found himself aboard a human diplomatic vessel, watching in amazement as they conducted simultaneous negotiations with 12 different species who had broken away from the Council. His mechanical eye recorded the proceedings for posterity, knowing he was witnessing history. The human ambassador, a seasoned diplomat named Tom, was explaining their philosophy to the gathered representatives. "We don't want to replace the Council as rulers," he said. "We want to help you all defend yourselves. Every species should be free to choose its own path." Rex noticed how the other aliens leaned forward, captivated. The humans weren't just offering technology, they were offering hope. Something the Council had systematically crushed over thousands of years. Meanwhile, in the Council's capital, High Counselor Brill was facing open rebellion within her own government. "The humans have infected half our territory with their chaos," she raged, her crystalline form crackling with energy. "They must be stopped." "The humans didn't infect anything," Rex found himself saying, stepping forward from his observer's position. "They just showed everyone what was possible. You can't stop an idea." The Council's response was swift and brutal. They activated their Doomsday Protocol, releasing the locations of their secret weapons caches throughout the galaxy. They assumed this would prevent the rebels from gaining access to advanced weaponry. They had severely underestimated human creativity once again. Look at this, Rex said to his log that evening, reviewing the day's reports. The humans aren't even trying to secure those weapons. They're letting the Council waste resources guarding them. Because humans figured out something we never did, weapons aren't the real source of power. Knowledge is. Human scientists had been working around the clock, combining their own rapid innovation with salvaged Council technology. They weren't just copying alien tech anymore, they were improving it, finding new applications that the Council had never imagined. The biggest breakthrough came when humans discovered how to modify their computer virus to affect the Council's FTL communication network. Suddenly, the Council couldn't coordinate their forces effectively. Each system was isolated, forced to make decisions on its own. "It's brilliant," Rex recorded. The Council's strength was always in central control. The humans turned that strength into a weakness. Now every local Council commander has to choose, fight for a losing cause, or join the revolution. The choices they made surprised everyone. Entire Council fleets began defecting, not just to survive, but because the humans' message of freedom and self-determination resonated with them. Even some of the Council's most loyal servants began questioning centuries of blind obedience. Tom, the human ambassador, explained it to Rex during a private meeting. "We learned on Earth that the strongest alliances are built on mutual respect and shared values, not fear and control. The Council never understood that." Rex watched as human diplomatic teams spread throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors but as advisors and allies. They helped newly independent species set up their own governments, shared technology freely, and most importantly, taught others how to innovate for themselves. The Council thought they were facing a military threat, Rex noted in his log. Instead, they're facing something far more dangerous, a complete transformation of how species interact with each other. The humans aren't just winning a war, they're building a new galactic society. But the Council wasn't finished yet. In their desperation, they were preparing to unveil their final weapon, one so terrible that even Rex, with all his combat experience, had never imagined it could exist. The question was, would even this be enough to stop humanity's revolution? Or would it, like everything else the Council had tried, simply give humans more tools to work with? The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Deep in the Council's most secure facility, Rex stood in horror as High Counselor Brill revealed their final weapon. His mechanical eye struggled to process what he was seeing, a massive quantum device that seemed to bend reality around it. "The reality shifter," Brill announced, her crystalline form pulsing with dark pride. "It can alter the fundamental laws of physics within a targeted region of space. We developed it centuries ago but never dared to use it. Until now." Rex felt sick. He'd fought in countless battles, seen terrible weapons, but this was different. "You're talking about changing the basic rules of existence. You could destroy entire sectors of space." "Better that than losing control," Brill replied coldly. "The humans leave us no choice. Their revolution spreads like a virus. If we can't rule the galaxy, we'll remake it." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Freedom, Ambassador Tom was meeting with the leaders of the newly formed Alliance of Free Species when the warning came. Rex had managed to transmit data about the reality shifter. The human scientists studied the information, their faces growing grave. The device could create zones where light moved slower, where gravity worked differently, where atomic bonds simply fell apart. It could turn whole solar systems into death traps. But instead of panic, Rex watched in amazement as the humans did something unexpected. They smiled. "You know what this means?" one of the scientists said, excitement in her voice. "They've proved it's possible to modify universal constants. Do you realize what we could do with this knowledge?" While the Council planned to use the reality shifter as a weapon, human scientists saw it as something else entirely, a tool for understanding the universe itself. Within hours, they had teams working on countermeasures, but also on ways to use the underlying principles for peaceful purposes. That's the difference, Rex recorded in his log. The Council sees power as something to control others. Humans see it as something to explore and share. The Council launched their first attack with the reality shifter, targeting a rebel system. Space itself seemed to twist and warp. But the humans were ready. They had developed quantum anchors, devices that stabilized local space-time. The attack wasn't stopped completely, but its effects were contained. Impossible. Brill raged when she received the reports. They couldn't have developed countermeasures so quickly. But they had. And they'd done more than that. Human scientists, working with alien colleagues from across the Alliance, had found a way to detect the quantum signatures that powered the reality shifter. They could track it, predict where it would strike next. "We don't need to destroy it," Tom explained to the Alliance leadership. "We just need to understand it better than they do. That's always been humanity's strength: we learn, we adapt, we grow." Rex watched as the Alliance fleet mobilized, not to attack the Council, but to protect vulnerable systems. The humans had turned a defensive strategy into a powerful message: we won't let you hurt anyone else. The Council's weapon of ultimate destruction had become a rallying point for unity. Species that had been enemies for millennia now worked together, sharing knowledge, combining their unique perspectives to solve problems in new ways. "They've done it again," Rex noted in his final log entry of the day. The Council tried to break the galaxy apart, but the humans found a way to bring it closer together. And now... He paused, his mechanical eye focusing on distant stars. "Now we're about to see the true power of unity." The reality shifter was about to fire again. But this time, the Alliance was ready. The final battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin, and it would be fought not just with weapons, but with hope, innovation, and the unshakable human spirit that had started it all. The final battle began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Millions of quantum sensors, distributed throughout Alliance space, detected the reality shifter powering up for its largest attack yet. The Council had decided to target Earth itself, hoping to cut off the head of the revolution. Rex stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship alongside Ambassador Tom, watching as the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history moved into position. Ships of every species, design, and size formed a protective web around the solar system. "The Council thinks this is about protecting Earth," Tom said quietly. "They still don't understand. This was never about one planet. It's about everyone's right to exist freely." The reality shifter's energy signature grew stronger. On her command ship, High Counselor Brill prepared to give the order that she believed would end the revolution once and for all. "Let them see what happens to those who defy the natural order," she declared. But the humans had one final surprise prepared. While the Council had been focusing on their superweapon, human scientists had been working on something very different, a way to communicate instantly across the galaxy, independent of the Council's FTL network. Quantum entanglement communication, Rex recorded in his log, his mechanical eye taking in the historic moment. The humans found a way to link minds and machines across infinite distances. Not to control, but to connect. As the reality shifter prepared to fire, every Alliance ship activated their quantum anchors simultaneously. But these weren't just defensive devices anymore. Each one was part of a vast network, sharing power and data faster than light itself. The Council weapon fired, its reality warping beam heading straight for Earth. But instead of hitting a single defensive line, it encountered something unprecedented, a galaxy-wide quantum field, powered by the combined energy of thousands of civilizations working in perfect harmony. The beam didn't just stop. It was caught, contained, and redirected through the quantum network. The Council watched in disbelief as their ultimate weapon's energy was absorbed and transformed. "Now!" Tom gave the signal, and every Alliance ship activated the second phase of the plan. The collected energy was channeled back through the network, not as a weapon, but as a wave of restoration. Everywhere it touched, the damage from previous reality shifter attacks began to heal. This is impossible. Brill's crystalline form crackled with fury. The energy requirements alone. That's what you never understood about humans, Rex said, broadcasting on all frequencies. We don't accept impossible. We don't do things because they're easy. We do them because they're right. The Alliance fleet moved forward as one, their ships linked not just by technology but by a shared vision of the future. The Council's remaining forces found themselves facing not just superior numbers, but a unified force acting with perfect coordination through the quantum network. The reality shifter, drained of power and now vulnerable, sat useless aboard Brill's command ship. The Council's ultimate weapon had been turned into a tool for healing the very damage it had caused. Surrender, Tom's voice echoed across all frequencies. Not to us, but to the idea that we can all be better together than we ever were apart. Rex watched as, one by one, Council ships began powering down their weapons. Even the most hardened Council loyalists could see that their time was over. A new age was beginning. They did it, Rex recorded in his log, emotion creeping into his voice. The humans didn't just win a war. They changed the way an entire galaxy thinks about power, about unity, about what's possible. But as the Alliance celebrated their victory, a new challenge was already emerging. One that would test this newfound unity in ways that no one, not even humanity, could have predicted. 1 year after the Council's fall, Rex stood before the newly formed Galactic Assembly, a gathering of representatives from every spacefaring species. His mechanical eye swept across the chamber, recording the historic moment. Where the Council's hall had been built to intimidate, this one was designed to unite. High Counselor Brill and her loyalists now faced justice, but not the kind they had expected. Instead of execution or imprisonment, they were sentenced to work alongside the very species they had once oppressed, helping to rebuild what their weapon had destroyed. The humans call it restorative justice, Rex recorded in his log. Another concept they've taught us. The goal isn't punishment, but healing, for everyone. The reality shifter, once the galaxy's most terrible weapon, had been transformed. Human scientists, working with experts from 100 worlds, had modified it into a tool for terraforming dead worlds and repairing damaged solar systems. The power to destroy had become the power to create. Ambassador Tom stood at the Assembly's podium, addressing the gathered species. A year ago, we fought for survival. Today, we face a different challenge. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching from intergalactic space, something vast and unknown. Rex's mechanical eye zoomed in on the holographic display showing the anomaly. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen, a massive void in space, consuming light and matter as it moved. In the past, Tom continued, such a threat would have caused panic. The Council would have hoarded information, tried to face it alone. But we're different now. We face challenges together. Already, the quantum communication network that had won the war was being expanded. Research teams from every species shared data instantly across vast distances. The combined scientific knowledge of the galaxy was focused on understanding and addressing this new threat. That's the real victory, Rex noted in his personal log. Not that humans won the war, but that they taught us a better way to face challenges. Unity without uniformity. Strength through diversity. The Assembly had established new principles. No species could be denied technological advancement. No civilization could be prevented from reaching for the stars. Knowledge was to be shared, not hoarded. The strong were obligated to help the weak grow stronger. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some former Council worlds struggled to adapt to freedom. Crime syndicates tried to take advantage of the changing times. Yet for each problem, the combined ingenuity of multiple species found solutions that the Council never could have imagined. Rex found himself appointed to lead a new organization, the Galactic Heritage Office. Its mission was to preserve the lessons of history while helping guide the galaxy toward a better future. His first act was to establish museums where the reality shifter and other council weapons would be displayed, not as symbols of power, but as reminders of the path not taken. The humans have a saying, he recorded in what would be his final log entry. The best way to predict the future is to create it. A year ago, I tried to warn the council about humans. I told them humans were dangerous. I was right, but not in the way I thought. He paused, watching through his mechanical eye as ships from 100 worlds worked together to build the first intergalactic sensor array. Humans were dangerous not because they were good at destroying, but because they were better at creating. They didn't just beat the council, they made the council obsolete. The void in space grew closer, its nature still a mystery. But Rex felt no fear. The galaxy faced this threat not as masters and slaves, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals united by choice. The Council's time is over, he concluded. The age of humanity has begun. Not because they conquered us, but because they showed us a better way. And whatever comes next, we'll face it together. In the depths of space, the void continued its approach. The galaxy's next great challenge awaited. But this time, they were ready. This time, they were united. This time, they would face it the human way, with courage, creativity, and unwavering hope.